I'd like to share a story about a high-risk offender that's done really well. During my time working within the custodial environment, I had contact with many high-risk offenders and complex offenders. One in particular had a history of violent crime, unstable mental health, chronic substance abuse, and he'd pretty much spent his whole adult life in custody. He was 27 at the time I'd met him, and of those 9 years on and off in custody, he'd spent much of his time in segregation for his continued violent behaviour towards staff and other inmates. So I worked with him for about 12 months leading up to his release. During this time, we worked through strategies to change his aggressive behaviour. Initially, this was a really foreign idea to him, as he'd always resorted to violence to resolve any issues he had. I made a challenge to him to at least try and walk away or not respond with violence on just one occasion and see how it goes for him. So he told me there was no way he could do that. So a couple of months prior to his release, he was moved into general population and amongst the jail, which proved to be a really big turning point for him. So he flagged me out one day in the pods and asked if he could speak to me. It was very urgent, never a good sign in a maximum security jail. And initially I was really concerned about what he had to say. So he was that excited. He could hardly wait to tell me that he'd managed to not use violence in a particular situation, and instead he walked away. So he went through the process that he was able to consider the consequences, and he had really given some thought to the impact it would have on his mum, his grandmother, if he was to get more time and stay in custody longer. So once he'd realised he was able to respond to situations without being violent on that one occasion, it turned into more occasions, and he was able to implement the same strategies and go through the same process to achieve a non-violent outcome. So he was so proud of himself before he left custody, and he felt he had some new skills that could potentially help him from further reoffence. And he's now been out in the community for 12 months without further reoffence, which is the longest time he's ever gone.